Hello everyone and welcome to Cartoon Doodle Draw Along with me, Mr Wyatt. Today I'm going to be drawing a couple of cartoons, one fairly simple and one a little bit more advanced. Whether you're a keen artist or you just enjoy the occasional scribble, you are more than welcome to give them both a go. What you'll need is a pencil or a pen and some paper, and preferably some scrap paper as well, just to test out some ideas and lines and shapes before we get going into the real thing. I have a very unique style of cartoon and there are many different influences from all over, but hopefully these videos will help you have a little bit of inspiration to just give it a go yourself. So with that being said, let's get going. So here in front of me I have my pencil. It's very rare that I use a pencil just because I've been drawing for a very long time, but also of personal preference. I quite like the sort of strictness of using a pen, and if you make a mistake it doesn't matter, especially with cartoons. It's supposed to be a bit sketchy and a bit fun, so there's no worries there. Also, it will help you at home watching the lines that I'm drawing as they come up. They'll show up a lot better as well. So off to my side here I have my piece of scrap paper to practice some shapes and lines before we get going. So first of all we're going to start with just practicing a few straight lines. Now, one thing that you may well notice is, or I may well repeat myself over and over, but my greatest hint and tip for drawing some straight lines is drawing up and down. It's a very natural and comfortable hand position to draw straight lines vertically rather than horizontally. It's still doable to an extent, but you'll find that up and down is a much more natural flow to get a straight line. You can obviously, as you're drawing a picture, you may well need to rotate and pivot your drawing to achieve this, but it's just one of my many hints and tips that I give out. We're also going to practice some shapes, so I'm going to practice a couple of circles of different sizes, maybe some ovals. And we could also practice some different shapes like triangles and squares. And again, with my style of cartoons, there are some recurring shapes and even letters that show up in my style. So I will try and refer to those on the scrap piece of paper, so that then when we go over to the other picture you'll be able to see them. So one of my common shapes that I use is similar to a W or W, but continuous, so almost creating like a bumpy ridge or waves this way up. Alternatively, an M or M. And before you know it, you've got a row of 2 rows of teeth. So there's all kinds of different shapes and things you can practice on your scrap piece of paper, and it's one of these things that people quite often throw aside, but just practicing shapes and lines, making them smooth movements, is always really, really helpful. So with that being said, let's dive into our first simpler character. So we're going to start off with drawing a sleeping cat. Now this is going to be only sort of made up of a few really simple lines, but really fun and potentially something that you could develop on and make very colourful as well if you've got some colours available to you. So we're going to start with filling the majority of the page an oval. So a squashed circle, and I'm going to connect that up there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from about the centre, and I'm going to start where the tail is continuing that curve. So I'm going to come around and follow this line, but then I'm going to break it off like so. And you can see I'm just going to gently curl that up and bring it back around, leaving a gap at this end. I'm going to continue to curl that up to about the middle there. Okay. Then I'm going to come over to this side and we're going to draw the cat's ears. Really iconic, nice triangular shapes. So again, practicing our triangles over on the scrap piece of paper is very useful. So we're going to do one angle there, and again you can see we're missing that bottom line, and another over on this side, just like so. And then we're going to connect those lines up with a small curved line. Then we're going to bring round the curved line just like so. And we're actually going to make that meet the tail just down here to there. Another iconic sort of bit of line work to make it look more like a cat. Again, placing very small lines in the correct place can make a massive difference. We're going to add some whiskers for our cat. So crossing over that curved line that we've just done for the side of the cat's face, we're going to do one whisker and two whiskers. And then on this side, again, so we're mirroring that, one whisker and two whisker. And don't worry about going over outside the edge of the cat's body again, because you're creating a level of depth. Now, as I said, we've curled up our nice cat into a very simple oval, so this is going to be a sleeping cat. If we jump back over to our scrap piece of paper, I can show you some different eyes. So some different styles of eyes. You could draw some cat's eyes maybe, so it could be awake. So again, there's no right or wrong, and you're more than welcome to try these out, try different styles, and maybe find even other styles on the internet for inspiration. But two curved lines like so, and then a singular line is a very simple cat eye. Alternatively, you could add a bit more detail, so going again with the sort of almond shape, but you could add a bit more shape to the actual pupil of the eye. A step further, you could add a shine, and this is really common in manga, which is like Chinese and Japanese inspired animation. They often put shines in the pupils of their cartoon eyes, so then filling that in again adds a bit more of 3D realness to the picture. Alternatively, you could keep it really simple like I do for my cartoons and just have a line like so as an eye, or a sideline. And again, with cartoons, it's the more you strip away, the more sort of progressive and emotional you can be with a very simple change of a line. So for this, as I said, it's going to be a sleeping cat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a curve. And that is actually, with two of them, going to look like a closed eye. So if we come back over to our sleeping cat here, one of them may well disappear behind part of the tail, and that's okay. Again, finding where lines disappear behind other parts of the shape is one really key thing to build up over time. I'm going to draw one eye just there. And another eye. Again, like I say, I'm going to imagine it's disappearing behind the tail, and I have to follow that line without touching the paper and think about where it's going to reappear. Again, another bit of our cat that we're missing is its nose. For this, we're going to draw an upside down triangle. Very simple again, nice and small, just like so. So that is basically all you would need to draw a nice little sleeping cat. Should you like to, you could add maybe stripes or fur patterns, or who knows, it could be a magic cat with spots and swirls. It's completely up to you. And again, these videos are to hopefully inspire you and give it a go, and then maybe take it on further. Very quickly, I'm going to show you a style of sort of drawing line that will help you make it look more like fur. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually shake my hand, or sort of shake my fingers, make them vibrate as I take the pen across. And I'm not worrying about touching the pen to the paper too hard. Just achieving some shaky lines to give the idea of... Now again, I'm thinking about where the shape is going, where it's all curving around in almost like a spiral. And I'm not worrying about crossing over what it is I've already done because, again, I'm using a different style of line. Okay, so there we go. That's our first picture done. Now, what we're going to do for our second picture, this is going to be slightly more advanced, is we're going to draw a cat again, but this is going to be with perhaps a bit more scene around it, maybe in an action pose. Again, what is commonly sort of known or potentially taught with cartoons is animation. So when you take multiple pictures and place them together to create a story, a video or film. So we're going to imagine that this is part of a scene. Now we can have a think about what action our cat is doing, whether it's moving or jumping or running. So we're going to try and use our simple lines to convey that action as we're creating the scene. So first of all, I'm going to be quite sketchy with the actual landscape or the background to the scene, and then we're going to add our cat in and see where we go. So I'm going to draw a quick line across here and just some sketchy lines down from here, and this is going to be a garden fence. Okay, maybe we've got a few trees in the garden, so I'm just going to come up with a wavy line from this side. And I'm going to do some curves just there, similar to the ones we were doing earlier on the scrap piece of paper, but these are overlapping one another. Alternatively, we could have a tree a little bit more like perhaps a Christmas tree or an evergreen. So I'm going to come up with a line and have it come out to the side there. And again, I'm just going to work up out the scene, imagining that it disappears off to the side. Okay, so now I think we're going to have our cat just gently balancing across our garden fence here. So it's going to be small and detailed, but again, rather than focusing on getting it just right, we're trying to convey motion. So if your lines are a little bit blurry or crossing over one another, that's no problem. So again, we're going to start with an oval for our cat, but it's not going to be complete all the way around because we're going to add those cat ears. Okay, and our whiskers. Now I'm going to do my stylized cartoon eyes, very simple. Again, just adding the nose there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the body. So I'm going to come down from underneath this whisker here. And felines, cats in general, when they move, they are very sort of royal and very delicate with their movement. So I'm, rather than going for edges and corners, I'm going for a curved soft line. Okay. So having done the tail, I'm then going to add 2 of the 4 legs raised as if they're moving, and 2 of the others are going to be behind. So I'm just making it meet down on here. So at the moment it's only got 3, but the reason I've done that is because the other is going to come down behind here. Again, adding just a little level of depth to our picture. I'm going to add a small neck shadow there, or maybe even a collar, and just maybe this cat just has sort of their tail and socks change colour of fur. And again, it is up to you, so you can take this as an inspiration and maybe add your own style, or just experiment with a few different ideas as well. So with this I'm going to add some movement lines, because again we're imagining it's part of a movement or an action. So to these legs that are in the air, I'm going to draw 2 small flicks, and maybe even on the tail as well, as it's balancing across the fence. At the moment we've got a really empty space up behind here, so what you might do is draw the next garden fence in further up. Again, leaving it fairly sketchy, and the more basic that your picture is around the character that you're wanting to focus on can really help draw the eye into it. Thinking about where you're laying out the picture can really help. I'm just going to continue this fence a little bit more. Again, as I said earlier, if you're wanting to have a bit more of a straighter line, then you can turn your page so you're drawing a vertical and have that comfortable wrist movement. Up in the sky here, I'm going to draw some birds maybe flying around. And again, one of the things that really got me into cartoons and doodling when I was younger is cartoon comic strips. So again, conveying this idea of moments of action or movement, but then using speech bubbles to add comedy or just dialogue to the scene. So if you would like to, then you can think about using that empty space potentially to actually have a bit of dialect and sort of speech to add to the scene. So for example, we could create a speech bubble up here, or you can simply add a line and then write what it is you'd like your character to be saying. I'm going to keep it very simple, but hopefully you can get a little bit more creative at home. Hello, I'm a cat. Exclamation mark. There we go. So that has been it. I hope you've enjoyed drawing our 2 pictures. Again, slightly varying different levels of difficulty, but all made up with different levels of very simple and generic line work. Hopefully this is the first of a few videos of Cartoon Doodle Draw Along that you can get involved with, and if there's anything in particular that you would like to have a go at drawing, then feel free to try and get hold of me at some point, and I will certainly add it to the list of requests that I've had so far. But hopefully everyone's enjoyed it, and I would love to see how you've got on at drawing along with these pictures, whether it leads to a cartoon comic strip, or whether you've taken that idea and moved on to something else. That'd be absolutely fantastic to see. So thank you very much for watching Cartoon Doodle Draw Along, and I'll see you next time.